So the other day I was just wondering, what is it that we need to talk about when we talk about synapse? Synapse is all about the neurological connections and how making connections in our life actually helps in a lot of things. You all believe in networking, you all believe in making connections? Everybody wants to be the best at it? So basically, I wanted to talk about what stops us from connecting to others. From morning you've had different sessions, I'm sure there are other speakers. We're going to talk about how nice it is to connect to everybody. But what is it that truly stops us? Why is it that some of us, we want to connect to others, but why is it that we cannot actually go out and connect? So that's what we're going to talk about today. With the entire internet, the digital explosion and everything that is happening now, you can connect to anybody at your fingertips. Everybody is just there on your phone. Even if you don't meet people in years together, you exactly know what's happening everywhere in their lives as well. It's as if we are actually maintaining a personal diary. We know what's happening in their day-to-day lives. So when connecting to somebody, maybe sitting in Timbuktu is so easier than maybe just getting out of the house and knocking on a neighbor's door. That's much farther today than connecting to someone into the other end of the world. When all of this is happening, do you see that the actual human connect is going down? Yeah. We are so connected to our phones and everything, but what is it that is actually missing in terms of connecting to people? Digital explosion that is happening, and when everything is at fingertips, what is it that is actually stopping us? To connect to people, the first thing that I think that we all need to have is common sense. But beyond that, there are two other senses that we were wondering that this is something which will actually help in connecting people. One, sense of belonging, and two, sense of ownership. If you observe into your own lives, what happens is unless you have that sense of belonging, unless you truly feel belong somewhere, you're lost. And how is this felt? Does anybody teach us how to feel that belongingness? No. Be it in terms of families, be it in relationships, as much as employees working in a company, unless somebody truly feels belong, I don't think it'll actually work. Same way as the sense of ownership. Just look into your own lives. Will you be willing to let go of your laptop or a mobile phone or something that you own? You want it to be with you all the time, and in case if there is by chance you lose it, you'll move heaven and hell and everything to get things back. That's because you own something. So how do we own someone or the connections? Do we feel that we own this person or we own this particular network? Even when you come into a gathering like this, unless you feel connected in terms of you feel in the particular moment, what happens is unless you feel the ownership there, you wouldn't be willing to be open. So apart from these two, there is another skill I think that we need to kind of develop in terms of connecting. Yes, you have sense of belongingness, sense of ownership, fine. But these both don't work unless there is responsibility. Your ability to respond. Only a person who's willing to take up responsibility is the one who's going to actually have it with them. So that sense of responsibility comes in only for those who take it. There's a saying that says that with power comes responsibility. It's not so easy. So when it is your responsibility to communicate, it is your responsibility to make sure that the other person feels belonged and the other person owns the particular moment or that particular network, the connect that you have. Apart from these, what is it that actually stops us from connecting to people? When you go out, when you are out there talking to, making new networks and everything, the basic thing I think that you would need is to be vulnerable. Many a times, this vulnerability is seen as weakness. Rather than that, vulnerability is something which keeps you real. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you understanding that everybody has flaws and how to embrace those flaws. For example, when you meet somebody for the first time, you want to put your best foot forward. You're the best in your attire, you're the best in what you're talking, you're best in how you're connecting and everything. But is that your true self? Have you all observed that, when you make connections and everything is fine in the beginning and slowly, there are things which come up? That's because the personality is different to what you actually show in the first meeting. So how to see beyond? To have these connections happen, truly, it is all about being able to see something which is beyond what is actually seen. To hear something which is actually beyond that you actually hear. To actually feel beyond what you're experiencing. Now that is not something which is tangible, it is not something which will be told to us or which is taught to us as we grow up. So keeping it vulnerable. When there is vulnerability, usually if you've observed, there is a little noise, there's a little devil sitting in all of us, in the heads. Now this noise is so loud than the noise that we had, maybe when the music was playing, then all the people in the room put together. What does this noise tell us? It keeps criticizing yourself. It keeps telling you that maybe you are not okay. Now it might not be there in others people's minds, but it's actually there sitting here in our head. And when it is going on and on, it kind of translates into the body. You might stammer, you might stutter, you might be confused, all these things happen. So when this self-criticism happens, there is a barrier that happens. There is a barrier that is built, which is in the mind, where you're actually judging yourself. Thinking that things might not work. And where does this judgment come from? It comes from all our past experiences. What are we today? We're nothing but product of our entire past experiences. So if you had somebody where your trust was breached, you bring it to a person that you're meeting newly now. If you had somebody where you had an unpleasant experience, typically that's what we keep searching. That is what keeps you on toes to be careful. But it also masks the reality where you'll not be able to see the person that you're meeting now for who they are. So when all these things actually keep, playing so much in your mind, what is it that one can do? It's the perspective. When the entire reality is happening, not everybody experiences it the same way. There is a reality, there is everybody's perspective. Your perception is something which makes all the difference. And this perspective, if you are basing it only on the limiting beliefs and if you're basing it only on the experiences which are not so resourceful, it will actually hinder you from putting your foot forward with, kind of trusting people outside. Now when I say, I'm not saying that you should not trust people. I'm only reiterating the fact that there is no wrong in actually, going there without a filter. So these are the major things which actually mask us from seeing things as they are, from perceiving things, the reality as it is. So I think, if we can overcome all these things, connections, synapses, they happen very naturally. Thank you.